Kal Kat. This is Kal Kat, and this is a review of Mad Max: Fury Road. I saw this a month ago, a month and a half ago, May, and with Marx cards. We're doing a movie marathon. That's why we haven't been doing. We haven't been doing Kamara because it's been really, really ridiculously hot. So in May we squeezed out one episode and then. So yes, other things going on, and his work schedule. So yes, so we've been going to these movies, and here's another one: Mad Max: Fury Road, Mad Max 4, another fourth sequel, like the Jurassic fourth sequel, and Mad Max, latest version, stars Tom Hardy as Mad Max, as Charlize Theron as Futura, what's her name? Farina, Furia, rather, Furina. Farina, yes. That character should sound familiar to Kal Kat fans. Yes, they used one of my characters in a Mad Max movie that made billions of dollars. Come on, where's that paycheck? Come on. Yes, Fury Road is basically a movie adaptation of Kal Kat's The Cars Battles Wars, or Sasser Geneva's Team, produced in the 1990s and rediscovered in the 2000s and put online, and there it is. They didn't pay me. No, it has nothing to do with the Cars battles, but it is interesting that it has kind of the same idea, same source actually. The director of Mad Max, of course, Miller. I was inspired by the Mad Max movies to make Mad Toy Car Max movies. Woo! So it's the same idea. So yeah, basically cars, but distant destinies with cars, with a badass chick fighter person and stuff. So yeah, on to the actual movie review of Mad Max: Fury Road. The story takes place somewhere after an apocalypse. Probably Australia, and Max shows up to this weird sort of town that's run by a cult of people that worship cars. The Cars Wars, ooh. Yes, they worship cars. And apparently they enslave the women to get their breast milk, because breast milk apparently is a commodity. And bullets are a commodity, and so is fuel. So in this future they have a bullet farm, and they have a fuel town they have to go to get fuel. Furina discovers that she doesn't like being a slave and driving the war machine for the bad guy, who's played by the guy who played Toe Cutter in the original. And it's a different guy, though, supposed to be, because Toe Cutter died, so it's got to be somebody else. And and Max plays the Drifter. He walks in, and Tom Hardy doing his best impersonation of my nephew Johnny. Yes. No. But, no, Tom Hardy just looks a lot like one of my nephews. Yeah. So, he comes in, and he's like, Mad Max, it's a lovely day. That's the other. But yeah, they go out on this adventure, and Farina steals the war machine from the main bad guy, the king guy, renewed place, the Motor King guy. And while he's trying to birth some of his half-pregnant, his pregnant slaves, the slaves escape on Farina's truck. Max and his group goes out. Max gets tied onto the front of one of the leader guy's cars and driven around. I didn't put that in any of my stories, but he gets tied in front of a car. I didn't think of that. That would have been cool. And Mad Max gets driven away in a car, and they race across the desert. This big sandstorm, lots of cool shit happens. Stuff blows up. Yeah, but it's a really cool movie. There's not a whole lot of dialogue, but it's a really great chase, adventure, roller coaster ride thing, and it goes by really quick. It's 2 hours, but it goes by really fast because they're just racing along, and they discover things about the Earth and that they've devastated, and that the rich elite have destroyed the world because they wanted power and stuff, and that the only water is back at the base camp, so they figure, well, maybe we ought to turn around at one point and head back there. There's a big showdown with the heroes and the bad guys. There's at one point, Max fights off one bad guy single-handedly that has all these guns. He like walks into the fog and he's like, "I'll come back. I'll come back for you." And he walks away and he comes back with all the bullets. It's like the bad guy clearly got killed, but we didn't get to see it. But there's plenty of gore to go around. And there's plenty of messed up, misogynistic bad guys. Now, some people were arguing on the net about the misogyny in the movie and the oddities in the movie and the whole idea. Oh, the slave ladies and they're escaping and stuff, and they didn't like that idea and oh, dare they like exploit that thing? Oh, some of them were thinking of Sucker Punch as well. But like the thing about this movie though is, unlike Sucker Punch, which was terrible at trying to portray any kind of like empowerment because they got it backwards, the Mad Max movie gets it right, because Furina is a lady. She steals the truck, takes the power from the men, and takes off into the desert. So she's actually the hero. She takes off with all this stuff, and Max helps her. She rescues the slave ladies. The bad guy, you're not supposed to like him. I think that was part of the problem with the Sucker Punch movie, which has other fantastic things in other realms in it and stuff. Is that in that movie they just kind of ignore the misogyny and pretend it didn't exist and pretend like, oh, the asylum people are actually not bad, they're good. It's like, no, that's messed up. No, they're supposed to be bad. Address that they're bad. The Mad Max movie does not pull punches. The bad guys are bad. They're evil. It's like you want the bad guys to get completely destroyed because they're so evil. And it's like, wow. At one point, they're like in a car driving along, and this lady like is giving birth, and they're like, "Okay, I'll cut her down if I." And it's like, oh my god, they actually show. It was like really gory and nasty. It was like, oh, sick. Dude, it was like, that's messed up. Because that's the misogyny part. But clearly you're not supposed to root for that bad guy. You're supposed to be like, oh, that bad guy's an asshole. He's going to die soon, I hope. You know, it's like, so yeah, it's like you're not rooting for the bad guys. No, you're rooting for Max and Furina. Yes, but Furine wasn't the name of the character in the story that I had. Furine comes from another story, Starcrackers, which has been online for some time. Furine is Azeroth's mom, as mentioned. She's not a tough warrior chick. But I was dressed as a chick in that movie, so maybe, Miller got confused. And he was like, oh. And incidentally, he did not do Sucker Punch. That was Zack Snyder. And later in the summer, we're going to be reviewing his Superman Batman crossover. But yeah, But yeah, that was Mad Max Fury Road. If it's still in theaters, go see it. I think it is. See it in 2D and 3D and all that. Sure. Well, that's a good movie. It's a fun movie. If you like post-apocalyptic horror that does not pull any punches and it's really violent and stuff, because you figure like in a dystopian post-apocalyptic world, nobody'd be good guys. Really, they'd be really gray areas. Nobody would be. They'd all be trying to survive, desperate and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, to equate it to now is kind of silly. There's no current politics going on. People are saying that too now. Except for, we're destroying the resources of the planet. Yeah, kind of are. It happened. So yeah, I'm not going to give away what happens to the heroes. You can watch it. Farina does eventually find her tribe, but I'm just going to say that. And turn around and so that kind of thing. But yeah, anyway, the tribe. And there's motorcycle ladies in it. I mean, that's pretty funny. They literally at one point take the concept old lady on a motorcycle. You know, they say that in the motorcycle culture. Motorcycles, your old lady. They literally do that joke. Except she's got like a blaster or something, like a big old like freaking rifle or something. There's an old lady. And Charlize Theron has a robotic arm. How did you not like a movie with a Charlize Theron with a robotic arm? And Mad Max. It's sort of a remake of Part 2. Kind of like Jurassic World was a remake. All these reboots and reimaginings. Anyway, there you go. Jurassic. Yeah, Mad Max. Okay. This is Kal Kat again doing another summer movies, movie reviews. 3 in a row here. This is Tomorrowland. Yeah. This is the clunker of the year so far. We did not set out to go to the clunkers of the year. So we did not want to go to any flop, completely crap movies. So instead, Marx Cars did not go to this movie. It was a 50-50 split, though. So I said, okay, I'll go to this movie. I'll do this review of Tomorrowland while you're doing something else. Because we blew all our... Well, I mainly blew all the money budget. So, Disney blew its wad on this one. Tomorrowland. Ooh. Yet another ride movie. We've had such classic ride movies that have gone so well before, Pirates of the Caribbean series, yeah. But we also had Haunted Mansion. No. and it's like, when are they going to do It's a Small World movie? That's what I want to know. Yeah, I want to be in that. They sort of implied it in this one. Tomorrowland is an interesting mess. About half of it is good, just like the critics said. I'm not just saying that because the critics said it. It could have been so much better, but because it was George Clooney and the girl from Snow White and the Husband, and the girl from that British show was in it. It was trying so desperately to make itself look cool that in doing so, it was kind of not so cool. Dystopian. Well, yes, dystopian. But yes. Some critics argued that the story was Randian, like Ayn Rand. They must have been conservative critics, hyper-conservative critics, because who's going to equate that to Ayn Rand and her movies? All 3 of those were terrible. It's like, don't equate it to Ayn Rand. It's not that bad. Besides, the dystopia doesn't make sense, because there's like, Ayn Rand was about, like, corporatism, a little bit of that in there, trains, and transportation. Although there's a train in the movie, that does not mean it's Randian. It's not. About the rich elite taking over the world. No. These are the elite nerds that take over the world. That's completely different. It's a different group. The nerds take over. So, yeah. The story starts off extremely clunky. Okay, you have this setup where the teenage girl and Clooney are bitching back and forth about how to start the movie. Don't do that if you're going to start a Disney action movie. Don't do that. Just do what Pixar does and just say, okay. part of the idea of storytelling, just do it. Just the toys are alive. It's the old adage of when you're doing storytelling. And the same thing with that Mars movie had the same problem. John Carter. Yeah. I have to review that sometime, but not right now. But yeah, don't start your movie and then restart it again. And say, like, oh, we're going to show this part and then do another part and another part. Just start it. You have start it with young George Clooney at the World's Fair. That's the start of the movie. Don't have the preachy message in the beginning about the environment. Don't have the other stuff about the end of whatever's going on. In other words, show your audience, don't tell them. Yeah. Classic story trope. Show your audience. Say, World's Fair, boom. Kid has a jetpack. There's your beginning of your movie. Kid has a jetpack. Shows it to the World's Fair. Ends up getting into Space Nerd World, which is Tomorrowland. Which is in another... He accidentally falls through the looking glass, I guess, or something. He falls through the It's a Small World ride after following the agents. And he goes down in there. I won't give away everything because people have seen it. And he follows the agents to Tomorrowland, basically. And the robots fix his... it's in the jetpack. Okay, there's these clunky robots in there. And I'm not going to tell you about the other ones. There are other robots. I'm not going to tell you. And the clunky ones fix the jetpacks and can fly around. Yeah. So yes, Tomorrowland. So the character as a boy befriends this little British girl, and she builds and they build a future. Then they cut to like 30 years later, or 30 or 40 years later. I'm not quite sure on it. Should be 50 years later, technically. The present day. And they cut to the present day, because if it was the 60s and now it's 2015, yeah, that would be considerably later. 50 years later. They kind of implied that it was, no, it had to be 50 years later. So even that was confusing. So, it's 50 years later, and a teenage girl and her father are working for, the father worked for NASA, and they're tearing down a shuttle platform, and the teenage daughter is using spy drones to essentially sabotage the work, which would get her thrown in jail forever. But so that he keeps his job. It's like this weird noble effort. Kind of a messed up thing for happening in a Disney movie. It is a felony to do something like that. But no, she's doing that, and she gets bailed out and stuff, and ends up finding a pin that leads her to Tomorrowland as well, through a advertisement that it does when you touch it. It makes you hallucinate. Yeah, the same thing happens when you have shrooms. I guess. But yeah, psychedelic toad. It's like, no, we're not going to do any of that. I'm just saying that that's what happened. But it's like Tomorrowland hallucinations. They like that stuff. Science fiction idea that somehow that does that. The British girl from the original shows up. I guess there may be time travel or something going on here. She shows up, befriends the teenage girl. They bust out. They go to this other place where they encounter this junk shop, which is ripping off Cajun Pawn Stars, and which is a ripoff of Pawn Stars. It's supposed to be a spin-off, but it's a ripoff. It's a copy. It's a clone. There are lots of, yeah. It's a copy. It's a clone. And there are lots of that. So they find Clooney's character, who's now a recluse, and he's living in a house with all these censor things up, and these evil robots are chasing him and stuff, and there's this big battle, and they end up going to Tomorrowland vicariously through a rocket ship that came out of the Eiffel Tower. They get to Tomorrowland, and everything's messed up because Governor Nix, this bad guy, he's running the place. I don't recall that from the ride, but okay, and the bad guy. and yes, so that's, and Governor Nix is the guy who played Dr. House. So Dr. ER Doctor and Dr. House are enemies, which I thought was kind of surreal and weird. I wasn't the only one though. Like, Dr. House is the bad guy. I was like, really? Okay, that's the guy from House. All right, that's kind of an in-joke there. They're not the same characters. Not supposed to be. Well, let's have an in-joke. Why not? But yeah, it just didn't. Well, I won't give away the ending, because if I go any further, I'll give away spoilers that'll totally give away the whole movie. The premise here, though, is that it just wasn't very good, because the source material was just kind of preachy and over-messagey about the end of the world and stuff, and the end of another world and dimensions and things like that. It got convoluted, a little convoluted, overly ripe. I think telling a story about a dystopian society of nerds that failed is more interesting than telling a story about the end of the world. It's just more interesting. Why not tell that story about that other world? That's the thing that critics were mostly complaining about. Why didn't we see more of that? More of Tomorrowland? Because when they get there, it's kind of dark and dingy and gray. It's like, yeah, and then and some of the elements of the ending are silly. But yeah, and you wanted to see the other worlds that are in the Stargate and stuff. So yeah, the whole premise is just off somehow. So yeah, worth a rental, I guess. I mean, it's not the worst movie ever. I mean, it's just not the greatest. It's about. I give it a little better score than the other critics did, though. They were a little harsh on it because they were expecting something else, and expecting it to be like you know, ooh, it's astounding, and they were imagining other things going on that just weren't there. This is not the next Star Wars. This movie is not gonna be that. This is not the next Hunger Games either. This is not, you know, anything like that either. It's just not. So I didn't have high expectations like they did when I went in. I was like, well, it's not based on anything, so okay, it's based on a ride. It's like I didn't mind the other Pirates of the Caribbean movies either, even the bad one. You know, it was all right. You know, the fourth Caribbean movie was kind of more fun than the other two. But yeah, so yeah, I just it was all right. You know, it was worth a shot, I guess. Part of the problem, I think, though, was that David Lindelof helped write it. That might have kind of messed it up a little bit. It's the guy that helped on Prometheus. We know how well that went. When are they going to discover that David Lindelof should maybe not be writing movies that are going to be blockbusters? Maybe just an idea. Greetings and welcome to Jurassic World. Yes, this is Kal Kat the Kal Katster, and this is a brief review of the summer movie Jurassic World. I will follow this with other reviews, summer movies. Currently in the Kal Kat show, we had other movies to review and have not done the reviews. And went back to Jurassic World, one that Marx Cards and I both saw 2 weeks ago. Now, Jurassic World is a sequel to Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic Park came out in 93, Jurassic Park 2 around 97, and 3 around 2001. It's been about 14 and a half years since the last one, and they've had trouble with the script for the past 4 years. Originally, the idea was that they were going to do something really lame. They were going to essentially do dino soldiers and have like them be army soldiers. That would have been so dumb. Glad they didn't do that. Yes, be thankful out there that they did not do that. That would have been really lame. Yes, so yes, and this movie seems to pretend like Jurassic Park 2 and 3 didn't happen. In this movie, the other two sequels took place on Isla Sonra instead of Isla Nublar, and this one takes place on Isla Nublar again. And they kind of pretend like the other two movies didn't exist. They have opened the Jurassic Park, apparently. In this version, they endorsed it anyway and opened it without anybody saying. And yeah, so InGen is apparently evil. That's the company that runs it. And they're twisted, and they decided to reopen the park. And they got this, the lady running it who is not supposed to be anybody from the first one. She kind of pretends a little bit to be, at least in terms of clothing later on. But she's not really. Chris Pratt is in it, and he plays Dallas Bryce Howard plays the girl, and she plays, and Chris Pratt plays the boyfriend. And Chris Pratt wrangles dinosaurs. He's like a croc hunter of dinosaurs and velociraptors. And he apparently, has velociraptors for pets. Well, sort of. They're sort of trained lions, I guess you'd say. And this army soldier guy shows up, this colonel guy, and he's like, and he says, I want to train the velociraptors for war, because that would be a cool idea. So there's a little bit of that war story in there. And everybody's all like, that's stupid, don't do that. So they're basically acknowledging the first screenplay was crap. And don't do that, that's dumb. Now, it just so happens that the park is losing attendance, so what happens is they decide, they got one guy from the original, they got Dr. Wu in it, and they've decided to engineer a hybrid dinosaur mixed match chimera of other animals which is not possible, but okay, fine. And apparently it escapes and starts wreaking havoc on the park with 20,000 people there. And if they think, oh, carnage, mayhem, everybody's going to get horribly killed. But a PG-13 movie, no, everybody's going to get killed sort of over there and over here, and a little bit of blood here and there. And nothing's going to be super gory, even though some of the critics were all, why wasn't it gory enough? It's like, no, it's not Carnosaur. It's not it's not Mortal Kombat. It's Jurassic Park. They're not going to do that. They're not going to have a Steven Spielberg movie with gore shooting out everywhere. He never does that. He doesn't do that. Even his most messed up movies like Schindler's List and whatever didn't have gore happening. They had like frights and stuff, but not gore. It was that one was probably unless you count Saving Private Ryan, in which case there was some gore in there. But I think in terms of this, both of those being war movies and this being about killer dinosaurs, yeah, you don't want to be too realistic with killer dinosaurs, so you make them less killer. Yeah, I know the dinosaur would chew people apart and eviscerate them, and stuff would fly. They would be alive when I start to reach you, as they said in the first one. But yeah, so I was okay with it not being super ultra gory because it can't be. It's kind of a funhouse ride, roller coaster thing. And yeah, it's a good movie, and yeah, it's a worthy sequel. And yeah, it wasn't bad. I liked it. Yeah, Marx cards. I also liked it. Also, let's see. Go see it in theaters. If you can see 3D, see it in 3D. But the 2D one is just fine. And let's see what else. There's a sub-story, a B story. They have two children in it, millennials, to try and sell the story. They're not supposed to be related to Lex or Ellie or anything. There was some of the critic, well, specifically the critic that wanted all of the gore was Nostalgia Critic, one of the web guys. He also wanted gore, and his brother did. And he wanted gore, and he also wanted the kids to be more believable, which is, yeah, they're not so believable in this one. But they weren't so great in the first one either. It's just we kind of liked them better, I think, in the first one. They just more believable. Yeah, and as I recall from the first one, everybody wanted Timmy to get fried on the fence when he was stuck up there. It's like, why didn't he get fried? So even back then, we were like, no, he won't get. And another oddity of the other review of the Jurassic movies from Nostalgia Critic and Red Letter Media, Nostalgia Critic was a little confused, and he seemed to think that like the character of Ellie Sattler is related to John Hammond, and she's actually the wife that's going through divorce, and that Lex and Timmy are her children. They're not. If they paid attention after seeing it allegedly 7 times, they should know. I've seen it more than 7 times, the original one. I'm not going to say how many times I've seen this movie, Jurassic Park, the original. He's not. They're Hammond's grandchildren, but they're of no relation to Ellie and Grant in the original story. And although Malcolm and Grant go back to... Malcolm appears in part 2, and Grant appears again in part 3. But with another boy, it's not his kid. And Ellie has married someone else and had a kid in that one. But they're of no relation to Lex and Tim. They're not related. So so all Spielberg was trying to get at in the first movie was that Dr. Grant learns to appreciate children. They're not his children. That's it. And he kind of didn't, because they went on to the next movie and he ended up not being with Ellie. But he's not married to Ellie, he was just dating her. They paid attention to the part where Malcolm asks them, like, are you two an item? Yeah, I do. So, yes. Oh. So, yeah. So they were not related. Just, they were Hammond's kids. So the only connection to this could have been that Lex would be the lady running the park, because she'd be the granddaughter of Hammond. Which would have been interesting, but they didn't go there. So if Lex is in part 4, Lex is the lady with the red hair. But she's not. Just say that's probably what they wanted to do. They wanted to get Aria Richards to be. And she's all, no. Because it's unlikely that Lex is the mother of the two boys in the movie. Because she wouldn't send her kids to Jurassic Park if she was Lex. She'd be like, no, that's a bad idea. You can't go. That's stupid. No. So that didn't have... So, yeah, Lex... Okay, Lex. Yes. So what I was trying to say is that the lady who was running the park was kind of like Lex, and that she should be... She's not supposed to be, because she wouldn't be the mother of the two boys in the movie. She'd probably be too young. Well, it was 22. Well, maybe not, actually. No, it could be Lex. But, okay, maybe it is. But it's not the mother of the... It's not supposed to be Laura Dern's character. That would make sense. She's not related to Hammond. So, yeah, they did not make that connection. There's no familial connection between these two movies. There's nothing there. The Nostalgia Critic got it wrong. I thought there was this Lex and... all the two boys are related somehow. And then they fussed over the two boys and the mother and stuff. They fussed over the two boys and the mother and stuff, but I think what they were doing is imprinting their own being siblings, their own sort of, drama about themselves onto those two boys, and that impacted their critical analysis. Now, yes. Now, they don't know it, but Marx Cards is technically not my brother or anything. We were just friends from all the way back to, like, over 30 years, that's all. So, yeah, when they do their brother rivalry thing on there, and they're kind of imitating the Kal Kat thing a little bit, and they're kind of imitating Red Letter Media, more or less. Those guys aren't related either. Those Red Letter Media aren't related either. So, yeah. So there, Jurassic World. The boys are the least interesting characters in it. It's more about the curator and military guy and the other ones. They're more interesting. The boys aren't terribly interesting. Yeah. So, and there's a hacker in it, but because it's the 21st century, he basically runs a control room with these other people, and he's wearing a Jurassic Park shirt, which is funny. There's a scene involving that. But, yeah, he could be Tim, I guess, but I don't think he was supposed to be. That would be kind of funny. He's ready to park. Yeah, so they'll probably make a fifth one, because this movie made a buttload of money. So, yeah. So. Yes, we were not consultants on this picture. Yes, indeed. And, yes, the Moses War. And if you've played the game, the video game, it's similar to the video game, actually. Jurassic Park video game, the CG one. So it is similar to that. A little bit. Very, very similar, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Except that was a girl. But it was also a crazy creator chick in it. Yeah. Very much like the game, actually. So yeah, that's cool. So, there you go. Jurassic Park. Part 2.